Notice looking through Karen Reed's Lexus window, you will see what appears to be Brian Higgins' Jeep with the plow at an angle, contrary to his testimony of parking with it straight. The top right taillight photo shows where the corner of the plow hit. The lower right photo shows a possible scratch from the plow blade. When she's backing up slowly. She's at the end of her backing. Now remember, she's just backing into the last 6 inches of this. She's overset. She's here in front of the whiteboard, okay? So when she backs up, so this is 6 inches. This corner is 6 inches into the left tail light. So picture the plow sticking out from the whiteboard 6 inches and her truck all the way over here. And picture this being the passenger side. So she backs up and catches this, the plow edge. And this, as she backs up, tips the top forward. In the top coming forward drives into the tail light. And that is how her tail light was broken. You can see the curve of the blade, how nothing else would be damaged. And you got to remember, this is 6 inches pressing against here. So this isn't going to get damaged. This is one little point that goes in there, smashes the light, and breaks that metal chrome piece. Goes through the red part and goes through the thing. Nobody parks a plow straight on the ground in the road. We're not talking about a parking lot. We're talking about a road. No person, they would worry about that plow getting clipped by a car coming. Okay, this is the TechStream data. Karen Reed's vehicle never turns. Now, after the TechStream data reverses, she could turn to some degree, but nothing abrupt could have happened because there were no more triggers. So this first red area is when she starts to back up. This is where Trooper Paul states the incident happened. This is the distance to the end of the TechStream data. Now at the end of the TechStream data, she doesn't brake. She's still going 23.6 miles an hour, and her foot is still on the throttle. So what I had to do is punch in a stopping distance computer on the internet, and I used the shortest distance reasonable. In other words, I had to give her a second to start hitting the brake. I mean, she went from 74, it could be a half second, but I think I actually used a half a second. I used 0.5. So I came up with 66 feet. That's very conservative. And I also calculated that it was in a straight line, because if you're going 23 miles an hour backwards and you jerk the steering wheel, you're going to have a trigger. So we can confidently state that she stayed going straight. So this is where she would have ended up. And that's undisputable, this distance. If you cut 10 feet off and say 50 feet, which I highly doubt, she's still on the lawn. So that obviously didn't happen. So now we're going to put this in a location that could have happened. We know from Matt McCabe, he said she drove well past the fire hydrant. So this is what we have, well past the fire hydrant. And then we have Jen McCabe stating, pull behind me at 12:31. So now it all makes sense. Karen Reed backed up, broke her tail light on the corner of the plow. I used a scale drawing of a Jeep with a plow. The tip of the plow came to 50 inches. When the plow is angled and up, the tip was 50 inches. That's a feature with these small plows. So when you're plowing, you hit something, it tips forward so you don't break anything. So what she did was she hit this, it rolled the plow forward and drove this point into the plow. The plow shattered, the taillight shattered. Then the town plow came along, and at 2:30 or thereabouts, he plowed the road, staying closer to the center. Then at 3:30, he came back and he plowed to the curb. And he gradually pushed the taillight pieces onto the lawn. When he drives along, the road is going this way. In the snow, once it's in motion, wants to go that way. So that helps it onto the curb. The other reason we know it's in the middle of the road, because if it was at the edge of the road, it wouldn't be able to throw it 5 feet into the lawn. In other words, the snow at the very edge just rolls up. It's this snow that gets up into the plow and goes into the lawn. We know that because there were pieces by the fire hydrant, there was pieces by the telephone box. And by the way, John O'Keefe's was lying right here, in those very small pieces flew through the air and onto him. I was going 45 miles an hour. When I saw the deer, I slammed on the brakes. So at what speed I hit him, I don't know. But I would dare to say it was more than 24 miles an hour. And this is a polycarbonate headlight. And this is what you would see. And when you see this, there would be massive injuries to a human being. There were deer. There was evidence of deer all over my vehicle. Now, granted, human beings use clothes, but you'd still have evidence. So this is what you would expect, and you would expect damage. This is proof of this. What I wanted to do was prove my theory. So I took this headlight and I put it in my press, because my theory is she backed up slow in the corner of that plow, pressed into this slowly, or should I say, not at road speed, coasting to a stop. And it broke not from impact as in a hammer, but it broke from pressure. So I put this in my vise, in my press, and I took a 1 inch or 3/4 inch, I don't know what, I could get actually the number of the star bit, leveled it out, and I pressed, and I got I'm not even going to say, because I don't know if my gauge is accurate, but an immense amount of force. And when it broke, it blew up, and the pieces went all over the place. And you can see where it turns the corner, it didn't touch this except for these cracks. So I'm guessing that that was similar to her tail light. It didn't affect this corner as much. It cracked it and was dispersed on the scene. It wouldn't surprise me if they broke off some more of this and threw it on the scene. But that makes sense why the inner piece and the outer piece were broken. If it were hit by a person, this doesn't have an inner piece, but that inner piece I don't believe would be broken. Her taillight doesn't resemble this kind of break. Her taillight represents this kind of break. In conclusion, the only place the taillight could have been broken is when she was backing up. The text stream data fits, and the 1231 Jen McCabe text, "Pull behind me," makes sense, meaning that Jen McCabe saw her after she backed up and hit the plow. Remember, that backing incident is very short, and she would have been on the opposite side of the road, so she wouldn't have been as noticeable. Plus, there would be no way that she could have hit John near the fire hydrant or the flagpole, because she would have been on the other side of the road, because the road is curved there and it's straight, as I previously explained. But the pull behind me and into the driveway makes sense. And it was a slow roll to a stop. So she could have even in other words, looking back on it the next morning, she could have even felt that bump. She could have thought that was John. Looking back on it, she could have thought that was John. So she backed into the plow at 1231 and then pulled off back down and back away, back to John's house. And as she's pulling away, John, who had fallen by the mailbox, in between the mailbox and the plow that Karen never even saw, he got up and walked to the taillights. Those are the 36 steps, the 80 feet, walked as he was walking toward the taillights. She was driving away, never even saw him. She drives away. He gets to the fire hydrant. He pulls out his phone to call her back. He never he never succeeds in that, because in his intoxicated state, falls over, arm on the snow flag, and falls over, hits his head on the fire hydrant, and lands on the ground. So Karen Reed had nothing to do with his death. This is just facts. This isn't speculation. It all adds up. So thanks for watching.